Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Mugello for the European Sprint Prototype Cup. The race has gotten underway very, very suddenly here already, and the cars have nearly completed their first lap of the race. It's the number 3 machine of Laurent Hoare, who won the race yesterday, leading the way in this opening moment. And then we have Ralph Mictry, who finished the race yesterday. Well, I was going to say finished the race, actually didn't finish the race after an issue with the car. Currently running in second position. It's Chaz Draycott and Claire Cottingham here in the commentary box. Claire, this one almost caught us off guard just a second there. We saw them fly by.
Yeah, we did. You suddenly went, that sounds like a thundering sound of these amazing machines starting. And yeah, I think, that's all we can say, really. Just that we missed the beginning. But we are going to bring you the rest of the 52 minutes of it, so don't you worry. We'll get all of the action here, of course. And also over the whole weekend for Ultimate Cup, because today we do indeed have the Endurance Prototype happening this afternoon. So if you are into your endurance racing, you want to watch 4 hours of racing, do make sure you join us for that. That's getting underway this afternoon. Desperately trying to find the schedule as I'm saying it. To see exactly what time it starts. Just after lunch, I believe.
Yes, that one will be on at 1:20 the race starts. Actually, sorry, that's the starting grid.
Yes.
At 1:20. So should be live just before that as we get prepared for that race. Looking forward to that as the sort of main event of the weekend, let's say, with all of those wonderful Nova Protos, the cars that used to compete against the ones we have on screen right now. We have the number 44 machine of Miro Konopka, doing the very brave thing of doing these races all on his own. Had quite an interesting race actually yesterday, didn't he, Claire? We're taking a decent result out of it in the end because of the unfortunate demise of car 26.
Yes. Oh, it was a shame, wasn't it? Because we saw that Ewan Thomas started on pole position, commanded the race pretty much the entirety of his stint, came in, changed over for Ralph, and then unfortunately, and we haven't quite got to the bottom of what it was, but the car started slowing down quite spectacularly and then ground to a halt on the final lap. So it was a massive shame actually, because even though it's only a smaller category in terms of the amount of cars that we've got for this weekend, we had 6 for Paul Ricard. You don't want to see that happen, do you, after all the hard work that you've put in? And it was good for the other 3 teams and the other 3 cars who all managed to capitalise as this poor car gave up the ghost. But it's back out today, so it makes me think it was maybe something mechanical or some sort of failure that they've been able to obviously fix overnight, but it wasn't, as we can see at the moment, with 50 minutes left on the clock. It was fine at this point, remember. It's not terminal. Yeah,
thankfully, it's always a shame that when we lose one car, we lose a quarter of the grid, and thankfully we've got the grid back to full capacity again for this race. But it's Laurent Hoare at the moment that is absolutely flying at the front of the pack in car number 3. Not that you would think that he'd be able to get away from this 26 with the way that Ralph Mictry is driving it. It's on an absolute mission as well by the look of it. Again, just the body language of these LMP3 cars, they really dance around on the circuit. A lot of the time with prototype racing, they look like slot cars where they're just completely glued to the road everywhere they go. They don't really show any sign of breaking free or having a spin or a moment until they have a big one. But with these LMP3s, you can really see how the car is behaving, how it's interacting with the racing surface. And it's just a joy to watch them. And as I mentioned 130 odd times yesterday, it's a joy to listen to them as well. The great noise that the Nissan VK56 V8 makes, adorning all of these cars. But a solid lead at the moment for Laurent Hoare from Ralph Mictry, Miro Konopka, and then it's Martin Bohm in the number 61 machine again. He is sharing that with Andreas Wojcik. And by the look of it, based on the 3 teams that we've got with 2 drivers in, they're the only team that have stuck to the same pairing order as they had yesterday, because Martin started the car in yesterday's race.
Sorry, I just sneezed. It caught me off guard. Yeah. So I half didn't really listen to what you're saying. But you know when a sneeze really catches you off guard, you're like, you have about a 30-second lead up and nothing else you can think about apart from the sneeze. So that did happen. My apologies on that one. What were you saying that was so interesting? Sorry.
You probably won't find it as interesting now. Out of the 3 teams that we've got with 2 drivers in, the only one that has put their drivers in the same order as yesterday is the 61 machine. Yesterday, Ralph Meektree was going to finish the race in the 26 car, and Laurent Hall was going to finish that. As he's still, I mean, he's not going to finish the race if he keeps doing that, is he? He's still pushing like mad in the Duqueine.
That's a mistake. That's not pushing. That's he's gone wide, hasn't he, and hit the gravel. You don't want to. You don't push and then hit the gravel, do you? He's obviously got a bit out of shape on that weird little crest that you get. Like it's quite impressive. This is, I believe, we are looking at Ewan Thomas. Couldn't quite see, but then we are looking at car number 3, so maybe not in that. Yeah. Hang on. Bear with.
Thomas is in the 26 machine.
Yeah, no, I know that, but yes, it would be. I think it was Ewan Thomas, because I was looking to see if it was John Brownson who was alongside Lauren Hawes, and that was not John Brownson. No. They are significantly different in ages, so I would assume that was Ewan Thomas. We couldn't see, it was the back of his head in our defence.
And to be fair, that's what a lot of the drivers saw yesterday as he drove off into the distance.
Well, exactly, yeah, but I do know that wasn't John Brownson. That is a definite from me.
Lovely looking machine though, the Duqueine, as he guides it round turns 1 and 2. Again, as we said yesterday, in this sort of mainly bare carbon fibre livery, the cars look so raw and purposeful. It's a really, really lovely looking race car. And at the moment, it's going as well as it looks as well. 15 seconds clear of Ralph Meektree. Miro Konopka currently running in 3rd, did a personal best sector 1 last time, and we often see this, don't we, across the first sort of 5 to 6 laps. The tyres just keep getting warmer and warmer, the cars get into more of a decent operating window. They just get quicker as that first stint goes on, and then obviously the drivers have to just maintain that from that point. They don't want to overstep it.
It's also quite chilly this morning.
It is.
I've still got my jumper on.
Yeah, I'm still sat here with my jacket on, even though we're in the trailer.
Yeah, no, it is a little bit chilly out there. Yesterday, temperatures were, they did get to about 19, and obviously track temperature is very different from ambient temperature. But it is meant to get warmer today, but we had more cloud coverage yesterday, so I'll be intrigued to see how the day goes. It's 9:10 here this morning, which it actually feels about lunchtime.
Yeah,
so,
it really does.
It does, it feels so much later, so it'll be interesting to see, because I think this track's going to get a lot warmer as the hour goes on, which obviously tyres react differently. I mean, it's not significant tyres in this race, but it is an interesting factor to put in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if you're putting a more experienced driver in the car to begin with, and then putting a less experienced driver in second, who's then got to handle the car on tyres that have been absolutely abused by a more professional driver, then, you know, it's a difficult thing to manage, and that will obviously add to the variable of driver pace in general. That's what we saw as a very interesting part of the race yesterday. The fact that Laurent Hall had to catch up to Meektree and then get past. Obviously, it was the issue with the 26 car that eventually put pay to its race, but Laurent Hall was on a real mission and turned the race around in the later stages.
Be interesting to see car number 26, obviously, you're saying, has the quote-unquote slower driver in, and we'll see what Ewan Thomas can do in the second stint with the, as you say, tyres that might be a bit more battered and bruised. So periods of sunshine today at highs of 18 in this area. Probability of thunderstorms pretty low, 0%. Cloud cover is 42% today, and possibility of rain 4%.
That'll do.
Yeah, but that means it's 4%. It's very confusing because people think it means 4% chance of rain, but it actually means it's 4%. If it rains, it's I don't know. It's very complicated. Have you ever looked into that? Where it's, you know, when it says it's like 70% chance of rain. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's 77% chance of rain. Right. It's like 77%. I can't remember the exact. I'm gonna look at it properly, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's 77% chance of rain. I'm gonna Google it while you. Percentages.
We'll see.
Weather. Explained.
Well, we've got car 4.
Hang on, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We will come back to the racing. If the forecast for your area shows 40% chance of rain, then there is a 40% likelihood during this specific period. And that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
Well, we've got just under 44 minutes left. We had car 44 on screen.
I got it.
Got it.
It represents the probability of rain, not the chance of rain in the specific location.
Isn't that
which is the
same
same.
thing?
It's slightly different. So it indicates the likelihood that any point within the forecast area you will receive at least 0.01 inches of rain during the specific time period. Feel like that's the same, but I think there's a technicality.
It's the chance of whether it will rain at all, not how much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The severity rather than the probability.
Yes.
I think.
The other way around.
Yeah.
Which I would have thought anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, 43 minutes left on the clock. The sun has just peeked behind a cloud now, as the cloud cover is around 40% today. I'm going to get all my facts.
Is that how much cloud there is, or how likely?
It's the likelihood of how much there is.
I was going to say before, it's quite interesting though, because this circuit is surrounded by hills, but it still always seems to be bathed in sunlight from. There's no hiding from it at all.
Yeah, no.
It's only when it gets really late in the day that the hills start to cast a shadow, isn't it? Well, on the circuit
yeah,
anyway.
but it doesn't. No, because it's. I mean, you've just got a lucky day, to be honest. Because like I said, we've been here before, and as you can see, the clouds are on the track there. I'm going to disagree heavily with what you just said because it's not right. And also, if you come here when there is, look, you can see they're peeking behind the cloud now.
Oh, I mean, just when it was clear earlier, just rather than any sort of.
Yeah, when it's clear, you're right.
Yeah, like I would have
thought. That is John
that,
Brownson.
There he is, waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
For his teammate to bring the car in. Obviously, the pit window between 35 and 25 minutes race duration. So when our timer at the top of the screen shows between half an hour and 20 minutes left to go, that's the pit window. This car actually yesterday, the 26 machine, really left it late in the pit window, didn't it? We were saying as soon as they came out of the pit lane, the window came up as closed on our timing screens. They really stretched it right to the end. It certainly doesn't look like it's got any problems today, does it? It's going like a rocket, just not quite as powerful a rocket as Laurent Hoare at the front of the field. But he is a gold-rated driver, and he is up against Ralph Meektree, who is a bronze-rated driver. You'd expect a pace difference on paper, and it's become a bit visual in this race so far. Love the shot of it making its way up there. It's crazy, the cornering speeds up through Arrabbiata. Hard onto the brakes through the chicane. Too quick for the cameraman, it seems. A little bit wide out on the exit, but again, careful not to overdo it on those curbs. We saw a couple of the cars really straddle those curbs yesterday as they sort of fall away from the curb. The spine of it can strike the bottom of these cars quite heavily. And I think it was the 26 that had a moment while lapping traffic yesterday. Dipped a wheel onto the gravel, I think, on the exit of turn 3. And just did a real sort of Tony Hawk's pro skater grind along the edge of the curb. It's turn 15 that's been the main talking point for track limits, though. That's where drivers are really pushing it. Just running wide on the exit of the final corner. And of course trying to get as much pace as they can down the start-finish straight. That's not something that Laurent Hoare has to worry about right now, though. He is on a mission at the front of this pack with this very unique Duqueine. The DKR engineering car on a flyer. Down through the gears, lovely sound on the overrun as well as it pops and crackles its way into turn 9. Often does it that aggressively, it just sounds like something's wrong, but it's definitely not. But it'll be interesting to see, won't it, Claire, the difference in pace when there's pit stops done and the different drivers are in these cars. Obviously, Konopka just
continue.
Yeah, just
lone wolf.
Lone wolf indeed.
Yeah, no, the difference in strategy this morning is definitely interesting. I'll be keen to see what the reason is, because obviously with something like the Endurance prototype, the slower driver will always start the race mostly. That's how they kind of do it. Like we were speaking to Owen Creed yesterday, and he said he'll be starting the race, and he is categorically the slower of the drivers. They've got a platinum driver with Nicolas Prost in the car. So it's interesting to see what their thought process was for this, in terms of, is it just giving both drivers a chance to start, really? Is that how they're looking at it, or is there a strategic reason as to why the slower driver might be starting this one?
I think considering that they had it in a certain order yesterday, they might just think we'll switch it up today, see what difference that makes to the race.
You'd think that, but nothing is ever thought like that in motorsport, though, is it? There's always a significant reason around it.
No, I would have thought with a smaller pack, they might just think.
Hence me also thinking that is a possibility too. It's 40% chance that you're right.
It's a losing game.
I will do everything in percentages from now on today. When lunchtime comes, I'll be like, I'm 30% sure I'm hungry.
I'm going to have 100% of my lunch, though, I can tell you that.
You have very good catering here.
They do.
Oh, we did have some nice food last night, though, didn't we? That was a dream.
Did.
I love Italy, and you can't come to Italy without eating pasta and pizza, and that's exactly what
we did both yesterday.
Yeah, we ticked to the box.
We did.
What are we going to do tonight? You're going to have the. I'm going to have pasta, and then you're going to have pizza. I mean, it's not unknown for me to have pizza every single day in Italy.
I don't blame you. Considering how that pizza looked last night, I don't blame you one bit.
Flavours were just so good.
Absolutely. And it was a lovely walk there as well. It's such a scenic and fantastic part of the world.
Nestled away, isn't it? It
Oh,
just
it
feels
really
like a little secret hideout around here.
That's definitely the word for it, nestled away. It really is. It's fantastic. And so is this machine, the number 44. I really do love the livery on this car. It's a shame that there seems to be no yellow in the printer that gave us this spotter's guide, because it looks white on here. And if I'd have known how bright and wonderfully yellow it was, I probably would have gone and seen it before the racing got underway. But still, we can see it now on our screens. That's the main thing. And don't worry, the nose of this car hasn't melted. That's just how it's designed.
How do you know?
They all look like that. Maybe they're just made of really thin plastic.
Yeah, it's just really warm out there.
It is. But yeah, Konopka, maybe it's from when the mechanics sit on the bonnet to clean the windscreen, as we saw yesterday.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite bits of endurance racing. They just climb up and straddle it and start cleaning the windscreen.
It does seem daft, doesn't it? It's just, I don't know why it seems such a strange concept.
But there's so many things in the world that, because we're so governed by machinery and AI and all these different things, seeing something so simple as someone crawling onto a car and wiping the winds, it's just like, there's some things that AI will not be able to do, and mechanics we still need, you know. And there's so much that everyone's trying to do through computers, and it's just, there's something quite innocent, isn't there, about just cleaning a windscreen. Yeah,
it was very manual, wasn't it? Proper on there, really get the elbow grease out,
get out the microfibers and the window cleaner.
Yeah, it was lovely, absolutely. And we have another lovely thing on our screen right now. I love this Ginetta. I'll just take a moment to listen to it, but it's just a fantastic looking race car. It's not quite on the pace at the moment, but Martin Bohm isn't miles away from the back of Miro Konopka. And as we saw yesterday, they have different pit lane times as well. I did try and find out what the difference is in all of them, but could not see anything that was solid for this weekend of it. I think it's more of just a guide based on who's got what sort of driver pairing in there. I think the gold and bronze pairing actually seemed to benefit from it in a strange way yesterday. But still, we have to wait and see what happens when the driver change is done. We didn't get a massive indication of Andreas Vojtic's pace yesterday, because the field spread out so much from the pit stops, the gaps didn't really change that drastically. All the drivers then sort of tried to guide their own individual cars home to just complete the race, tick another one off the list for the season. But obviously the big talking point was Ralph Meektree grinding to a halt just there on the circuit, actually, through turn 14. And we both noticed as well, didn't we, Claire, that the lights and everything had gone off on that car, so it just seemed like it was completely dead. There was nothing going on. Yeah, no, it's like me after 9 p.m, nothing going on. All the lights had switched off. Everything was gone. I still think it was a really weird way, because it was for the last 20 minutes that car was struggling yesterday. Yeah. And then suddenly it gave up. So I feel like we need a mechanic to explain what kind of issue that would have been that meant they couldn't limp at home, or if they just thought no point by that point, because I think at one point a podium was on for the car wasn't it really? So it was a very safe second place. Whereas when the third place was disappeared, I guess then they thought was no point really. We might be, damaging the engine or damaging whatever it is. What's the point in finishing if you're not on the podium? Yeah, it's the fact it was so gradual, the slowdown. It was so strange. Like normally, if it, like you'd said last night, if it was an electrical failure or something, it would have just turned off and that would have been that. and the whole thing would have just ground to a halt via gravity. But it was the fact that he carried on for a good 2 or 3 laps, once being overtaken, and the gap just kept snowballing and snowballing. One of the laps I think he did was over 3.5 minutes, and considering that they're doing 1:46s right now, shows you just how slow that was, doubling the lap time. It's going well at the moment though for Mitri, touch wood. Not sure if this desk is made of wood, but either way. Mitri, 40 seconds off the leader, sure, but that could all change in the second part of the race, because Laurent Hall had to gain well over a minute, nearly a lap in fact, on the race leading car in yesterday's race, which was this number 26 machine. The gorgeous Breton LMP3, the Ligier. This is the JSP 325. They've had a few iterations of this car. The P320 before it had a slightly different front end to it, but it was unveiled at the Le Mans 24, was this machine. Certainly the place to do it if you're going to announce a new car. Now we can see again the bodywork flapping around on the rear. I mentioned this yesterday with how sort of flimsy and light that rear panel is. I suppose actually, just in case there's any contact with other cars, even if it's just a kiss or just a little nudge through a corner, it has to be quite flexible. Just you'd rather it move around slightly than completely snap off at the slightest sniff from another car. But it's just amazing that you can see just how much turbulent air comes off those rear tyres and throws that bodywork around inside the rear arch, especially when they head down towards turn 1 in the big braking zone at the end of the straight. Just to put this into context, as a fantastic timing by the director, turns 4 and 5 are currently where we find the number 3 machine, as the second place car is just making its way onto the start-finish straight now. So they're a good, well, we'll wait until he crosses the line, 43 seconds clear at the moment for this Duqueine. And we're nearing the pit window. I'm intrigued to see who goes early here and who goes late, because the 26 car went very late yesterday, but Ewan Thomas was, with no disrespect to Ralph Mitri, clearly the faster of the 2 drivers. I wonder whether they'll change early here and then put Ewan in the car, because by the look of it, based on where Ewan is on the circuit right now, he will be able to come in this lap. There's only 1 minute left before the pit window opens. If they want to get Ewan in that car for as much time as possible in this race, they'll have to crack on and get him in. As again, we hear the fantastic overrun from that number 3 machine. Laurent Hall very wide out of the final corner. He can't come into the pits yet, as there's still over 40 seconds left on the clock as he passes the pit lane entry. Swoops over the crest of the hill. I do love that shot there where they hide behind the hill for a moment and then emerge. It's great when there's a battle going on and they sort of all change positions before they head back up over it. Almost looked, now it's maybe a strange observation, but it almost looked like the left-hand door on that Duqueine was slightly ajar, let's say. It was definitely not completely flush with the bodywork then. I'd be intrigued to keep an eye on that, see whether anything happens there. Obviously, if they pit soon, they'll probably notice that and check anyway. Give it a good slam shut. Miro Konopka will not be changing driver when he comes into the pits, and just as the number 26 has gone past the pit entry. No, he is coming into the pits. They've done it straight away. On the timing screen, it looked like he'd gone straight by though, but no, he just in the nick of time came into the pit lane. So they will get Ewan Thomas in that car ASAP. That's worked out really well for the number 26. Let's see whether Miro Konopka takes the chance to have an early break. There is Ewan Thomas getting in the car now, as his teammate Mitri has gotten out. And now Ewan will really fly. They check the tyre pressures, make sure everything's all good. And now Ewan is going to put these tyres through their paces. They've already done a solid chunk of this race. Now they're going to get really thrown about. There is a minimum pit stop time, which is why they don't look to be in any sort of major rush. They know they've got a certain window to fulfill all of the requirements of the pit stop. As we look back at Konopka, who's now inherited second position. Bohm hasn't come into the pits either. So it's just the one car in for the moment. The race leader has continued on as well. They're going to keep Laurent Haut in that car as long as possible. It's almost like an exact reverse of what we saw both the 26 and the 3 do in yesterday's race. Keeping the faster driver in for as long as possible. The 26 is now back out on the circuit. There is our race leading car. Sorry, that's not the race leading car. That is the Ginetta of Martin Bohm. And we had a 50-50 chance of getting that right as well. There's only 2 bare carbon cars in the field. Still, the Ginetta pushing on. Will he come into the pits this time round? We'll wait and see. It's going to be Konopka that's going to get there first. Konopka just rounding the final corner as we speak. We'll see if he powers on through. There is Ralph Meektree out of the Breton Racing Machine. Completed his stint. And he will now study the timing screens and watch Ewan Thomas complete the race in that car. Best lap for that car so far, a 1:48.7. Just going to have a quick look at the qualifying times as well, because I think it was Ralph Meektree that did the qualifying time in this one as well. He did a 1:45.9. So we'll see what the difference is like. Obviously, this is the out lap for Ewan Thomas. So he's not going to be on full pace just yet. Another lap to do before we get a true indication of that. And again, quite a bit of cloud cover on the start-finish straight right now. You can see it making its way back down the start-finish straight there. That's pretty cool. It's sort of unveiling the grid bit by bit. Okay, just to give you an idea of pace, Ewan Thomas's out lap was a 1:50.3. And the best lap of the race that car has done is a 46.7. I apologise, I said 48.7 earlier, but that's actually Miro Konopka's fastest time. So let's see what Ewan Thomas can do. He did a personal best sector 1, sector 2 and sector 3. Obviously sector 1 was slower because he came out of the pits. That was all the difference was. So Ewan Thomas straight on with the job at hand here. No mucking about. Almost looked like the sun was setting there with the conditions around turns 6 and 7. And into gleaming daylight over the crest of the hill. Still no pit stop from Laurent Haut yet. He's going to be catching up with the 61 of Martin Bohm very soon. He's going to be trying to lap that 61 machine. Or he might pit in just beforehand. There is the 44, Miro Konopka, into the pit lane. He doesn't have to do a driver change or anything, just gets a drink and cracks on. Martin Bohm also comes into the pits, so that leaves Laurent Haut to be the final car to pit. And it's unsurprising because they wanted to keep the faster driver of the two in as long as possible. Really cool to see Miro Konopka's fantastic design on his lid, with all of the major endurance races named around the sort of lip of it. Now, what was Ewan Thomas's time? A 1:44.856, and that's only 0.3 of a second off Laurent Haut, but that's a silver against a gold there at the moment, Claire. So it's close between the two, but soon Laurent is going to have to get out of that car. We've had an interesting message.
How did pit stop time under investigation for car number 26, which is now got Ewan Thomas at the wheel of it. That's usually pretty clear cut, something like that, because the times are all done via the sensors that are in the pit lane usually. It's pretty old school sometimes with the teams. They do have a little stopwatch occasionally, but
it's black and white, isn't it?
It can be quite black and white in terms of, we'll find out. Sometimes it's always quite dependent on the track as well, because some tracks are very good with their timing bars, and others are a man with a woman or a person with a stopwatch. So you have to kind of, but it's pretty clear cut these days, and especially at a track like Mugello, you have the sensors and they're up and they're there for. If it's under investigation, it's not a good sign. Put it like that.
No, absolutely not.
Long-winded way of saying that.
Still, we got the elaboration.
Well, sometimes it's another team that times them and then puts a complaint in. That can also happen. But in the time, period of that, he's been out for a lap, hasn't he, Thomas, or so? So he's been out for long enough for someone to maybe have messaged. Actually, I've got a group chat. Let me have a look to see if anyone's complained.
Well, either way, Ewan Thomas will push on like mad now and ensure that he does his job on the circuit. And he's trying to chase down the man on screen now, Laurent Hall. But he will have to come in, well, either at the end of this lap or one more, I'd imagine. I don't think they'd want to risk it too much. So I'm potentially going to go out on a whim here and say he's probably going to come in this lap.
Yeah, you know that teams will do that. They'll time other people's pit stops and they'll...
I didn't know that, no.
Oh, now I'm questioning it, but I'm pretty sure that can happen. Because everything's marginal and the points, and if they can time another team's pit stop and say that the time was wrong, you can get a significant advantage. But I would assume it was a mandatory one, so I would assume it was the sensors.
Yeah, it depends whether they can see the exact moment they enter, I suppose, and exit, but whether they...
That would be, sorry to yawn over you, that would be the sensors, because they would know.
Yeah.
But it's usually the stopping time.
Right, I see. Rather than from one end to the other.
You're making me question it now. Yeah, it's usually the amount that you've stopped for.
Ah, okay, I thought it was one end to the other, which is where the sensors would be.
Well, yeah, but... I don't know now.
Because there wouldn't be a sensor that could pick up how long it's been sat, surely.
But that's why they have the stopwatch. Well, hang on, let's see if you can see anyone. I'm going to...
Either way, that is Laurent Hall out of the car now. And Brownson is going to get back behind the wheel of the Duqueine. And it's going to be a case of now, can Ewan Thomas close in enough in the next 21 minutes or so? He's just going round the first corner now is Ewan Thomas, which seems daft to say as if he's already taken the position, but no, he was over almost a lap down, actually just over a lap down by the time that Laurent Hall came into the pit lane.
Yeah, so you got the guy behind with the stopwatch.
Right, I see. Car fires up and off it goes, making a wonderful noise. I'm surprised the camera can handle that. Miro Konotka has just done his personal best lap of the race as he crosses the line. And the number 3 heads out onto the circuit again. He's got a decent bit of daylight between himself now and the 44 ahead. Of course, that's not for on-track position. They're a lap down, as was the amazing stint by Laurent Hall to lead this field in the opening stages. Now it's just a case of getting the car to the end for some of these teams, but at the same time, it's now a case of Ewan Thomas trying to catch our race leader. Just under 20 minutes left to go then in the second European Sprint Prototype Cup race of the weekend. Good to see that despite the technical issue yesterday with car 26, we still have all 4 of them. Have to add as well, this is the second and final European Sprint Cup race, Prototype Sprint Cup race of the weekend.
Yes, okay, so I've gone to a very esteemed colleague of mine that's worked Le Mans, and I am almost certain that this is correct. It's usually someone with a stopwatch, which is exactly what we saw, someone holding the stopwatch. So occasionally it's another team doing it, and it's all it's most likely from the time the car is stopped.
Right.
So the mandatory pit stop will be car comes in, stops, you press go on the stopwatch, then you have your mandatory time, you have to sit there, and then any other time that, you know, penalties and such, and then the car is released, and that is your mandatory pit stop stopping time.
I was going to say
I was going a little bit, I was like, what? No, hang on. Yeah.
I've heard of it, I think it's in club racing, they sometimes have from one end of the pit lane to the other. I've had it heard somewhere.
Well, they do it in Formula One. They do it in many different things. Usually with Formula One, they'll do it as soon as they hit the pit limiter as they come in, stop, go. But that's not endurance racing, because obviously endurance racing is very different. You have to have your mandatory times to actually stop, whereas in Formula One, there's a mandatory pit stop, but there isn't a mandatory stopping time. That's the difference.
There is the result as of the miscalculation. A 4-second stop and go penalty.
Yeah.
Car 26.
So I'll be intrigued if that was another team looking in, or if that was
just misjudgment by them.
But then there's part of me that's like, well, they're not going to tell anyone, are they?
Yeah.
If they've mistimed it.
Unless they have an official that times them all themselves, that goes down there with it. We'll see. Either way, they've got a 4-second stop and go. So not just 4 seconds, obviously, added on to their race time. They have to still come all the way down the pit lane, stop there for 4 seconds, and then crack on again. So that's going to add a significant amount of time to Ewan Thomas's race. Miro Konopka, don't think will gain a position as a result of that, because he's about half a lap behind at the minute. Ewan Thomas, to be fair, was 10 seconds quicker than John Brownson on that previous lap. He is on a real mission now. He knows what time he's got to make up, and then has to throw the pit stop into it as well, with 17 minutes left on the board. With the pace that Ewan's got here, barring any mistakes, this could still be quite close. And coming back to the pit stop point, I suppose that obviously with all the pit lanes being different lengths as well, they'd have to. There's too many variables.
It's categorically wrong. If it's a mandatory pit stop time, that's the difference. The difference between a mandatory pit stop time and a mandatory pit stop are significantly different. And especially for things for endurance racing, and also when we see in the prototype, you'll have to add on timings for silver drivers. So you'll see like certain teams and cars sitting there for longer than other cars. They add it on during the pit stop. So there's too many variables for it to be anything but a person with a stopwatch. And we'll see. Well, this will be the stop and go of Ewan Thomas coming in to serve his penalty for the pit stop infringement. So they'll come in, sit, and then go, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it says on the tin. They'll wait 4 seconds.
Painful for a racing driver.
Yeah, 4 seconds is a long time. And look at the guy there looking at the clock, and he's saying go. So yeah, there's a person, and I say guy because I did see it was a man with a stopwatch. It's pretty old school in that way. But I would assume someone reported Ewan Thomas.
Yeah.
Or the team is the only thing I could think. It was, and then they check it. So you'd get reported, and then because they'll have to log all their times, I assume, and then there'll be some way that they can work it out, put it like that. They could also keep an eye on the total pit lane time, so they can kind of do a variable of like when, like the sensors that go off, the entry time through the beam and the exit. So another team,
Still, Ewan Thomas now has to get all of the weaponry out of his arsenal and crack on.
So yeah, it could be basically another team complaining, or it could be something in their system of the pit lane, basically, doing it. I'll try and see if I can find James Winslow from Endurance Racing. He'll know all about this. I'm going to message him.
Brownson still leads the way then, 150.7 his previous lap. He's just heading through turn 1 now. 61 machine, and Martin Bohm has just crossed the line as well. He's not too far away actually on the pace at the moment. Miro Konopka did the fastest lap of all 3 drivers on that last one. I say all 3 as obviously Ewan Thomas's time would not be representative coming through the pit lane to serve that penalty. John Brownson right now has just got to keep focusing forward, not look in the mirrors, not worry about anything behind him. At the end of the day, he's just going through turn 7 as Ewan Thomas is just coming onto the start-finish straight. So Ewan has Got a long old way to catch in these final 14 minutes. We'll see whether he can manage it though. What was his first time then? So that was an outlap, a 1:48.3. So even his outlap was 2.4 seconds quicker than John Brownson on this occasion. And he is now 59.5 seconds back. So just under a minute to gain in 14 minutes. So we're talking probably about 6 to 8 laps. And I'm thinking now, it's probably, if Ewan Thomas reels him in at the pace he was doing before that penalty, it's actually doable. He's just done a personal best sector 1 as well, just to really drill the message home. And in that sector, he's taken almost an identical, or an exact, I should say, 2 seconds out of John Brownson.
Right, I put in a note with James Winslow. Let's see if he responds, as he will know incredibly well. He also coaches a lot of his drivers out there. He's only got 3 drivers, he was saying, this weekend, so he's a little bit more quiet than he usually is, as well as obviously racing in the endurance prototype. He's a very busy man. He's just come back from, he just came back from Dubai, I think. He was out in, the Golf Radical Champions 2 days ago. And they've got 4 Golf Radical Cup Championships now over the past 4 years. And that was Jimmy Cho as well, who's also racing this weekend. So he's been a busy boy.
Absolutely. Ewan Thomas has been a busy boy on this lap as well, kissing the gravel as he went through Arrabbiata 2 and then through the final corner. Had a big old slide there. Here he is kissing the edge of the circuit and just pushing a little bit too hard here to try and recuperate that time. Manages to keep it together. He did a little weave actually out of that chicane as well. You can see now even he's still really throwing the car around. The back end stepping out through turn 3. So he's doing his very best here to make up that time. He was nearly 4 seconds quicker than the race leader on that last lap. Now, while that first stint yesterday was the real time for Ewan Thomas to prove a point of his pace, this is even more so now. He's got a moving target ahead of him and he's trying to chase it down. You can see a lot of the dust on that left rear of the car from where he went off just up here on the previous lap, really gliding the car around there. He's dragged quite a bit of dust back onto the circuit. You can still see it kicking a little bit of that up. Meanwhile, number 3 car heads into turn 1. Taking it nice and steady at the moment is John Brownson. That last lap was 1:49.6. Just for context, the best lap of the race so far was set by John's teammate, of course, Laurent Hoare, and he did a 1:43.5, which was only half a second off the pole time for this race as well. Circuit will be getting warmer and warmer though as this race goes on. Now the sun has properly risen. There's no shadows on any parts of the circuit now. And this number 3 Duqueine going nicely. You can see also a little bit of dust on the left rear, sort of where the light sort of section is on the back of the car. There's a bit of dust kicked up there, so clearly they've all dipped the left rear in at some point, just trying to find the limits of the circuit. I think that was very early on in the race actually. The Laurent Hoare did that while he was trying to get away from car 26. Gap down to 51 seconds now for Ewan Thomas. That's what we're going to have to keep an eye on here in the top left of your screens. That gap will get smaller and smaller, safe to say, as Miro Konopka does another personal best, 1:47.7. He's getting quicker all the time in this race. But we wait to see now whether John Brownson can keep up the pace enough to hold Ewan Thomas at bay. The gap's gone down to 49.3 seconds. Let's see what it's like across the line. John Brownson puts a new lap time in. That time round it was a 1:50.408. And as Ewan Thomas heads through the final sector, we'll see what he's got in response. Martin Bohm there on our screens, 150.3 from him, so actually faster than the leader at the moment. John Brownson currently is the slower of the 4 cars on the circuit, but maybe he's just taking it a little bit more gingerly, knowing that the other team have had a penalty. That's afforded them a bit more time. 8 3/4 minutes to go. We'll see whether Ewan Thomas's pace comes to fruition. 1:45.0 for him, so yeah, 5.4 seconds quicker on that last lap. And none of them, actually, Claire, none of those sectors on that last lap were personal bests.
No. Well, you wouldn't think it would be at this time of the race, really.
I think maybe he's dialed it back a bit after that ropey lap earlier.
It's gone over the gravel a little bit there. Yeah, I think so. It's all calmed down a little bit now. Yesterday at this point we saw obviously Ewan Thomas's car that was under Ralph. Yeah, that's looking slow. They kicked up a load of it sounds like the engine's turned off.
Yeah, it didn't sound.
Oh, there you go. Kicked it back into it. I don't know if that was our sound dropping.
Yeah, I think it was just really, really quiet for a sec, but that's definitely not at full chat,
that doesn't look very healthy. That's not a healthy looking car, and that's
oh no.
Car number 61. And that's very significantly quick. Oh, lights turned off.
Give it a quick control alt delete, sunshine.
I don't know if that's going to work. It's just cruising it along. Car's coming up behind, so we'll have to. I can't really yield, but I'm sure there'll be flags out. They're right, lights back on. He's going to have to move out of the way anyway for Ewan Thomas coming through. But looks like we've got a little bit of power back in car 61 with.
It seems like.
Oh, there you go. Give it a kick. Nah, that was.
No, at least it's downhill from there.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, not a good sign there for Martin Bohm and the team. You can see they're thinking, what on earth has happened here? It's got enough power to get itself in. Oh, he's here, lads. Yeah, they will not be too pleased with that one, unfortunately. The NG Sound Speed Division team heading out into the pit lane. I think with any communication to him, they'll know that whatever it is probably going to take them out of this race.
6 minutes left. There's no point even going back out, really. He was running bottom anyway. Managed to get it in, squeak of the brakes. Let's take that bonnet, the back off usually is what they do to check and see what's going on. You can see them looking at it and going, there's no issues.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see in a moment what exactly happened there if they get back out.
Yeah, one of the weird things for me is that I'm just going to check on. No, it is. So where the brake lights are on these cars, it looked like they were on a lot more brighter than normal, as if it was still catching a brake and as if it was triggering the brake lights, but it wasn't the case in the end. I just wondered if they were looking at that right rear then as if he was having some sort of brake fire or issue with them.
Well, just before he slowed down, I did say there was a plume of dust that had come up over the crest and then came down the hill and immediately almost started slowing down. So I don't know if there was an issue and they had an off and then lost power or whatever it was, but still currently in the pit lane is car 61, and I'd assume probably for the next 6 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately so. For the second race of the weekend, we find ourselves with just 3 cars left out on the circuit, although I say that and he's heading back out. They've given it a reset and he's cracking on. Back out on track goes the 61 then. At the end of the day, I suppose, if there is an issue and they're trying to fix it, this could be considered. Oh, or has he gone to the end of the pit lane and into the paddock?
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, it stopped again.
Yeah, the marshals
are running.
Oh dear.
Difficult to see because it's just in the little hill.
Little dip.
Dip, yeah. I was going to say crest, but it's not. It's the other one. What is it? Valley? No.
What? Yeah. What's the lowest point for?
The lowest point of a hill. The bottom.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like that's the right word for it, does it?
Not at all. The crest and the bottom. Yeah. Look, tried to get out. Should have listened to me. Obviously, they thought I'm being facetious. Obviously, they thought they had fixed the gremlin, and the gremlin returned in time for them to be able to push him back into the garage probably at this point. Disappointing though, for car 61.
Ewan Thomas really, really ragging this Ligier around now, kicking the back end out there. He's putting the rear tyres through some hard work. He's brought the gap down. It was 36 seconds at the end of the last lap. He's done another personal best first sector here, but not a personal best second sector. See whether he can manage to reel that other car in, but it's going to be, well, based on where the number 3 is now, he's just going through the first sector. I'd say he's probably got another 2 laps to go here. I think the timer will just be quite kind to him, and he may end up at the end of the race coming round the final corner with maybe a few seconds left on the clock. We'll have to see whether that comes to fruition, but right now Ewan Thomas wants an extra lap because he's currently taking about 5 seconds a lap out of our race leader. However, he'd probably at that pace need another 6 laps or so. He's over half a minute down. But still, great effort by the young man, as we saw in yesterday's first stint. And at least, by the look of it here, touch wood, the car is actually going to make it to the finish this time, albeit in second position to this machine, which won the first race yesterday, so could be 2 on the bounce. John Brownson just steering clear of any curbs at the moment. He's not pushing the car too hard to really overdo it, although I say that, and then through 13 and 14, he's actually quite aggressive over the curbs. But still, he's doing what he did yesterday there, though. Still goes for that apex early at turn 15. He's the only car that we've really seen doing that. A lot of them really square the corner off and go very late on the way in, tuck the car in on the exit and go from there. Yeah, he's going to get this lap. And then, oh, actually, no, he should get another one after this one.
Yeah, 2 laps left.
Yeah, I don't know why I was counting it as 0 as like the lap it went to 0. That was, yeah. I got my maths wrong there. So yeah, there'll be about a lap now from this point now based on the time left. So yeah, I think Ewan Thomas will be happy to at least have another one, but he'd have wanted a few more. The gap now comes down to 25 seconds. So it's a consistent 5 seconds a lap here from Ewan Thomas, chipping away at the race lead. Here's a car we've not seen for a little bit, Miro Konopka. Third position, finished second in yesterday's race after the demise of car 26. He'll be pleased to have not had to battle as hard with the likes of Martin Bohm and Andreas Vojtic. In fact, actually, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? That Vojtic, it didn't seem his name changed over on the timing, and we've had a bit of that here today as well, because it still said that Martin Bohm was in the car, even after their initial pit stop.
Did we see a driver change?
I don't think we saw that car in the pits, because when we were in the pit lane, it was looking at
it might just be him then driving.
Potentially so. So Brownson then heading into the final corner now on what is the penultimate lap of this race, the second race of the weekend in the European Sprint Prototype Cup here at Mugello. Currently leads the race by 22.3 seconds, or 0.4 give or take. And with 20 seconds left on the clock, he crosses a line to start this final lap, and it's almost wrapped up for the team now, barring any mistakes. He just needs to get the car home, clean and tidy, and they will take 2 from 2 here in the second round of the season. But right now, Ewan Thomas chasing him down. Ewan's just about to cross the line, and oh, we've had a red flag on the circuit. I wonder whether that will be due to the activities being stopped at 10 here.
I was going to say, because that's not for any reason. The clock's just gone down to 0 and they've suspended the race at that point. We will have a minute silence at 10 o'clock because of the funeral, obviously, today in tribute to the Pope, who died earlier in the week. And so we will be respecting a minute silence for his funeral today.
So that will be all the action from the European Sprint Prototype Cup here today and for this weekend here at Mugello. There will now be a break, as Claire rightly mentioned. We'll have the minute silence at 10 o'clock. Then all activities are suspended from 10 until 12 here at the circuit. So we'll catch you again this afternoon just after midday when the action resumes. But thanks very much for listening to us here and watching the racing with us, and we'll be back with you later on. See you soon.